I remember my parents wondering, "What are you what are you doing in your late 20s? You don't have a career yet?" And that felt a lot of pressure on that. Um, so the perseverance was, it's like being a writer. You just show up to write. You just keep showing up. And once I started taking evening classes in advertising theory and concept design. It's a specific way of thinking. And but once I started putting my portfolio together, it was like me now writing songs. It was all consuming. I must have spent 8 hours a day just working on the portfolio and coming up with ads and hand drawing them myself. And it was intense. And once I got it done, it was really only a matter of months before someone took a chance on me after other people were real naysayers.
Hello, everyone. I am your host, Lion, and I want to remind you that you indeed have the power to manifest your dreams. Please join me as we learn from Sam and how his life has been leading him to this very moment. From his career as an actor to his time in advertising, little did he know that the universe was grooming him to develop him as a songwriter. Come join us as we dive deep into Sam's life and how he stepped out of his comfort zone to follow his dreams. We are trying to do something that we have never ever done before. And so today's episode is about us trying to actively manifest and collaborate on making someone's dream come true. And why is this so important? For me, it's important because my life changed quite drastically 10 years ago. And as it did, I continued to be on a path to squeeze more life out or squeeze more juice out of my life. And this was especially true after COVID. And this is something that might resonate with a lot of you. But this episode isn't about me, clearly. It's about Sam's journey and how his journey has led him here and his current dream of becoming a songwriter, amongst other dreams that he's been able to fulfill. And it's also about how much of myself I see in Sam. And that I hope, as a result of today's episode, how much of yourself, the audience, you see in Sam's story. And if you do, might you join us, join our team to make Sam's dream a collective dream come true? The dream of getting Sam on the premier stage of songwriters in the country, the BlueBird Cafe in Nashville. That's right, y'all. BlueBird Cafe, if you're listening to this, we're coming for you. And with that, I would love to bring Sam on. Hello, Sam.
Hey,
How's
everybody.
it going?
Great. Lion, what a great introduction. It's awesome.
All right, brother. Um, so I'd love to get into it to help the audience have an understanding of your beginnings, your childhood, what that looked like from an intimate sense. So you grew up in San Francisco as a middle child, between two sisters, if I remember correctly,
Yes.
in a family environment that was often quite contentious, where you often found yourself playing the role of the peacemaker
Hmm.
at a very young age, right?
Yeah.
But that darkness and trauma that you experienced is what gave rise to the singer within you.
Yeah.
The singing to soothe the pain of your family environment, the singing to soothe your own internal state, and the fantasies that you created to cope through that difficult time. So, can you please provide some more background around that and tell us the story of being on a road trip with your family and fantasizing about the King family, which I had no idea about, sort of sweeping you and rescuing you and
Yeah.
taking you away.
Yeah. There was just like it was occasionally contentious, but it was like there was tension. It was like tension. And so because I was the middle child. I was the middle child, and I had a spirit of making everybody feel okay. That my role, as you said, was the peacemaker, the clown, the entertainer. I developed like a little magic. I can call it a magic trick of being able to dispel tension
Mm.
amongst people, and which made me, yeah, like a diplomat. Little did I know that I was putting my true self behind in order to make sure everybody was okay. And this story, and that I don't remember thinking, I wish I wasn't a member of this family, but the fantasy that you're talking about is being on long road trips with my family. I'm sitting in the back and I'm singing softly out the window with the fantasy that a secret listening device is off in the distance, hearing me. And at the time, or this is the time around Lawrence Welk and all these family shows, there was the thing called the King family, and looked like a big blonde. They're all dressed in matching sweaters, singing along to each other, 30, 40, 50 people. And my fantasy was that this recording was going to go out, beamed out to the King family. They would come in some vans and buses and pull us over, and the King family would come out and say to me, "You are one of us. You're not one of them. Come with us." And I've had that fantasy quite a bit, or versions of that. So it's funny looking back. So yeah, you're right. Whether you want to call it trauma or challenges, that I did have a coping mechanism that was to disappear in my head and create things.
Yeah. And tapping into the creator within you, be it song or jokes, to bring lightness to an otherwise tense situation, to bring joy to an otherwise tense situation.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
right.
So, um, now fast forwarding a little bit, you spent 30 years in advertising,
I did. Yeah.
right? But that was before you spent 10 years as a theater actor.
That was after I was a
Oh,
theater actor.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
theater
Sorry.
actor in my 20s. Yes, I was a stage. I was working stage actor up and down the West Coast at the Oregon Shakespearean Festival and off Broadway,
Yeah.
stock, and all kinds of different things.
Yeah, thank you. And so, can you tell us the story of, the lead up and how the hell you got into advertising and how it resonated with you more than being around the company of a bunch of stage actors?
Yeah, right.
Help paint us a picture of that.
I love stage actors because they are. Like, you can't make a real generalization, but they have a certain spirit to them. And while I worked amongst many, hundreds of different actors, I never felt that I was one of them. I always felt I was a little bit on the outside. That there's just a way there was a way of being. I had a lot of friends who became well known, and they all had, and to the ones who are still doing the regional repertory theaters, today, and that they have this ability to be patient and to wait for phone calls to ring and have this sort of optimism. And this waiting never, I just was terrible at this waiting, wait to go on stage, wait for the phone ring, wait for rehearsal start. When you're an actor, your life is 0.001% actually doing it. So I started writing a lot of just short stories. And then I had always done a lot of voice acting, voiceover stuff. And that's where I met people in advertising. When I started meeting people in advertising, I thought, oh, I think these are my people. They were sarcastic and funny and sardonic and had a lot of life. And I started putting a portfolio together and thought that I think this is what I want to do. After I realized that I wasn't an actor. By the way, it didn't happen immediately. It was a good year of me wondering, why am I on this planet? And so it all came together.
Tell us a little bit more about that. So it sounds like, if I understood you correctly, you made an active decision to pursue advertising, and that transition was about a year long, and it was tough,
Yeah.
and it was an existential time for you where you were just questioning your life and why you were doing what you were doing. Are you able to tell us a little bit more about that, and how was it that you persevered?
Boy, I think the thing is, is just keep facing forward. I mean, I just had this inner faith that somehow this was all going to work out. I remember my parents wondering, "What are you doing in your late 20s? You don't have a career yet," and that felt a lot of pressure on that. So the perseverance it's like being a writer. You just show up to write. You just keep showing up. And once I started taking evening classes in advertising theory and concept design, it's a specific way of thinking. And but once I started putting my portfolio together, it was like me now writing songs. It was all consuming. I must have spent 8 hours a day just working on the portfolio and coming up with ads and hand drawing them myself. And it was intense. And once I got it done, it was really only a matter of months before someone took a chance on me, after other people were real naysayers. But one group said, "Wait a minute,
Mm.
dude, you're interesting."
So who were they?
Small advertising agency in San Francisco. I'd moved back. I'd broken up with a girlfriend. Everything, my whole life was like it was a
Wow.
restart year or two. And
Wow.
yeah, it was tough. It was really tough. But someone believed in me, and they said, "Yeah, come join us." I was thinking the King family. Maybe it was the King family.
Thank you for that,
Yeah,
Sam.
yeah, yeah. But I just got advertising really, really quickly. I just understood what we were
And
doing here. And
and as we will find out later in the episode, your time in advertising was quite
hmm,
important for your journey as a songwriter. So,
really,
before we get to it,
yeah.
um, one of the things that you and I share in common is the fact that we both had very powerful mental breakdowns.
Hmm.
And that's earlier in the episode when I talked about 10 years ago, I was alluding to that time in my life. And so tell us the story of your mental breakdown. Paint us a somewhat detailed picture of where you were in life
Hmm.
then, when fate decided to destroy the world as you knew it.
Exactly.
What were some of the factors that contributed to this perfect storm? And
Well,
then
yeah,
yeah, and then basically how you managed to find hope and hopelessness. So take us through that journey.
yeah. It was a beautiful storm. It was very intense. I mean, to catch up, that was after 25 years of working hard in advertising and getting married and starting a family. And I just assumed that my life was me putting my head down, staying to try, trying to stay as positive as possible. At the end of the night, having a drink or two or three just to settle everything down. I had no idea how to self-soothe. I didn't even know that I had stress in my life. That was my ex-wife would say, "You don't even know when you're stressed," because I would get up and I'd go do what I had to do. And so after years of that, of me not listening to what my body was telling me, or what I didn't even know what an emotion was. I figured there was anger and happiness and some sadness. I thought that it was all pretty black and white. So getting to that point of there was no specific trigger for it all. It all just my body started to decay. Uh, I guess that's a fair word, because I was losing weight. I started getting achy. I started getting dizzy. I went to the hospital, a few times. Went to a doctor. Um, my marriage was not really working,
Mhm.
because we weren't really we we had different types of traumas in our life, and we weren't really. I guess it's called codependency. We were just like missing each other, and I didn't feel like there was anybody I could turn to, which is also a factor of being in my growing up situation where I was the middle child. I had to make sure everybody knew that I was okay because nobody else seemed okay. So I had to
Mhm.
keep this okayness uh, through my life. And remind me, I wrote a song about this topic just last week, and it just got to a point where I didn't. I had so much pain in my body, and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong. And then I couldn't. Everything started getting blurry, and I started to lose it. On the outside, I seemed okay, but the inside, I was a scrambled mess of panic and um, I didn't even know what was going on. And I remember I had a big creative presentation with my partner at the time, and we did it. I don't remember doing this creative presentation. I don't remember doing it. I, but because inside I didn't know what was going on. I could see this man moving and his mouth moving.
Mhm.
And 2 months later, when I talked to my partner at the time about it, I said, "How did it go?" He said, "Well, you seemed a little tired, but it went really well." I thought, wow, 30 years of doing this has saved my skin. So, um, so what happened is that I just started to break down. I couldn't even see. I had problems. I started making panicked phone calls to places. Then at the
Mhm.
end, I'm sitting on my front steps, rubbing my head, wondering what's going on. I remember looking down at my steps, and a swirling vortex of hell opened up on my front stairs, and I looked down and saw my whole messed up, insane, crazy life. It was all an exaggeration, but I thought I could fall into this hole. It was a hallucination.
Mhm.
And then I ended up getting to somebody on a call. I don't even remember. I made so many phone calls, and one person said, "Sam, calm down. You're talking to the right person." Hell,
Mhm.
calm. And she was they ran a clinic for trauma in it was in the mountains of New Mexico. And
Mhm.
she said, "What's happening is that you have unacknowledged trauma in you that you've been pushing away for years, and here's the right place to do it." So I spent 6 weeks in the mountains in a double wide trailer, and it turned out it was a very well known place for helping people with all sorts of problems. So, and then I came out of that, and I was like, God, I felt like a scrubbed, clean newborn baby. I didn't even know who I was or what was up. I just knew this is a restart. This is a rebirth. To be a little dramatic about it, but it's what it felt like. Of course, our marriage didn't survive because our pattern was just completely disrupted. But it was a pattern that needed to be disrupted, and
Yeah.
I just rebuilt. I just like rebuilt from there. I started studying everything, Buddhism, Hinduism. I'm everything. I was just inhaling stuff because I had this hole in myself. I didn't know. I just knew I had some sort of inner spirit, but I didn't have access to it
Mm-hmm.
at the time. So it was a lot of searching, and then still being an advertising guy for 3 or 4 years after that. What am I doing? But at that point, I'd done so many things so many times that coming up, say, with a campaign for a product or a service was automatic. I could do that in an hour and then present it to them and go produce it. So that was a blessing.
Wow. You know, when we were in the lead up to today's episode, when we were working together,
Hmm.
one of the things that you said that you came across as part of your recovery and sort of rebirth is you met a group who were coaching men, and basically one of the things that really stuck out with me is um, how you were introduced to a somatic way of seeing the world. And, you know, I know that in some circles, sort of somatic experience is something that's talked about a lot, but there's a lot of people that don't necessarily understand what that means.
Hmm.
So pretend we are reborn babies. Help us understand what is mean what you mean by sort of this somatic way, especially for men out there, of seeing the world, what that looks like, what does it entail?
Well, I think a lot of people can vibe with this is that no matter how much self help you devour, whether it's in the form of spiritual text to your basic 10 Ways to Be Better with Women book, that it's all conceptual. As best as they can, they're imparting some kind of wisdom to you that is that your if you can digest it in your head, you can digest it in your behavior in your body, and and went on, and later we'll talk about this as coaching men, that this that it only goes so deep. I mean, anytime anybody's been to a workshop and you devour all this information and you come out on that high, well, the high is completely in your head. It's not in your body, in your system, in your genes, in your DNA. I mean, so when so the kind of things that I ended up studying and well as apprenticing, not actually studying, was how to feel, how to what is a feeling. There are emotions, sadness, anger, grief, but those are just words for a feeling in our body. And so you can feel, everybody's different, but you can feel anger in certain places. And so eventually when we went on to be a coach, learning how to actually uh, give them enough thinking or conceptual thinking to set a framework. And then the rest is, where, what does your heart feel like? What are your hands? Where do you have sensation in your body now? Oh, my hands are tingling right now. Paying attention. So it's all this stuff that if I'd known, I wouldn't have had my nervous breakdown because I didn't know what a feeling. I didn't know what a feeling was. I didn't know how to connect with other people through an unseen energy thing that's going on between us.
Hmm.
And when I started on the journey, that part of my journey, and I met a guy. I thought, I'm having problems with girls. I'm going to meet I heard about this guy who coached men around girls, and he was great.
Hmm.
And I met another coach who was like much more. I felt him more, and so I followed 2 or 3 different people until I got to this type of training,
Mm.
which was. I noticed as a coach when you tell something to a guy that he's never thought of before, and he'll go, wow, I never thought of that before. Well, all of his energy is going up and out of the top of his head, and it's left him. It was exciting for the moment, but it left him. But I know that when something happens to a guy, there was something I said or we did together, or when he goes, huh, that's not in his head. That's down deep in his body. That doesn't have words for what it was. And guys tend to chase the ha ha rather than that deep river of understanding beyond concepts or words.
Thank you. Thank you for illustrating that in such a powerful way. I know that I found as much value to sort of come back and listen to this specific part, if not any other part. So thank you for that. Um, so together would go towards getting into your journey as a songwriter. Before we do, I think it'd be great to have the audience get a feel for you as a singer and a songwriter. So, what do you say, Sam? You kick that chair and pick up guitar and start serenading us, man.
All right, you guys got a serenade. Let me see where I'm going to sit over here. Yeah, I guess the one that you heard me sing at the open mic. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, and actually, before you start,
yeah,
I totally forgot to ask this question. What's the story? It's like a ritual. And I almost forgot it. Please tell us the story of how you and I met.
Well, we were at the Center Tea House in San Francisco, and I'd sung this song to the audience, and you came up, and I guess you were moved by it, or something. Something was in that. Yeah, this is a fairly recent song, the last couple of weeks, but it's as I think about my journey as a writer, that when I think of the songs I started writing 6 months ago, they're very different than what I'm singing today. I'm much more sentimental. I'm much more sentimental than and I realize maybe I'm just a sentimental guy. So all of my songs are hitting kind of a melancholy sentimentalness.
Major emo vibes, Sam. That's beautiful. Tap into that poet within you. So please, take a seat and let's get to it.
So this is a song. It's simply about two people who find love later in life, and it's called "I Wish We Met When We Were Kids." Who knew soulmates hung out in Walmart parking lots? You with your grandkids, me with my mangy butts. Just another normal day, didn't promise much. Never thought I'd get a final crack at love. We slipped into each other's lives, two peas in a pot. Mostly just holding hands, weaving two lives into one. How much time we had, no guarantee. But every day I'm telling her the same old thing. I wish we met when we were kids, instead of here near the end. There isn't enough time, you say, then I say there never would have been. Even if we met when we were kids. We got a year of making memories when they dressed you up in white. This ain't a place of healing's more a place to say goodbye. They say the clock is ticking, dear. We really should pray, but you just smile at me and say, I wish we met when we were kids, instead of here near the end. There isn't enough time, you say, then I say, there never would have been, even if we met when we were kids. You close your eyes serenely, I brush a gray hair from your face. A glow is bright within you, envelops you in grace. When suddenly I see you at 17. I wish we met when we were kids, instead of here near the end. There isn't enough time, you'd say, then I'd say, there never would have been, even if we met when we were kids. But that's okay, we got lucky anyway.
Hell yeah, brother. You know what's so interesting is when I listened to this song for the first time at the open mic, I had a completely different story in my head about what this song, sort of where the song came from. In my mind, I was like, you met somebody, later in life, and because it seemed so personal, right? It seemed like it was coming from such a deep place, and they got cancer or some other, sort of whatever, and that's the stage, where this song is happening. You've like made such a strong connection. Now let's contrast that with how you were inspired to um, write this song, because I think it's a beautiful story, and I think it's so powerful.
One of my favorite movies is a movie called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World, which it's just so I've seen it 2 or 3 times. And there's a beautiful scene at the end. I'm not giving anything away. It's the end of the world of the two characters, and she says to him, "I wish we met when we were kids." And it was a very power, and even and his point of view is like in the song is we. It doesn't matter because like everything ends, so it's just a matter of how much time you have together. So that line always stuck with me. And I'm of a certain age, and right now I see I date and stuff, but I'm still wondering like, is that how it is for me? Um, that when you don't have one very long term relationship, um, you don't have memories, and memories are are a like a fantasy of things that may or may not have happened, may not have happened too, and that in the future, like if let me just interrupt that by saying I when I wrote that song, I did not have that button at the end about that's okay. We got
Mhm.
lucky anyway. And when I was singing it, I thought, God, this feels so blah at the end. It's a song about hope and beauty, and so it needs something like we had what we had. And as human beings,
Mhm.
even if it's a one night stand, well, we had what we had, and it ended, and now there'll be another beginning. So that's what the song's about.
Mhm.
Yeah. What is I love about
Oh yeah.
the scenario
On
in the
that
song
note,
is that
let's
what
take
did
a
they
step
do for the
back.
year they were together?
Oh yeah.
They didn't do anything. They just held hands. that was their memory. So it's pretty.
So let's take a step back. And Kelly, can you tell us the story of how you woke up to the songwriter within you
Hmm.
and started to practice your craft of being a songwriter?
Yeah, yeah. That was not a straight line to A to B. I had, after 5 years of coaching men and running workshops around the world, in this somatic, connecting with women way, that I really woke up one morning and I woke up and to myself was, I'm done. I'm done with that. It was so clear. So I called my group and said I was moving on. And then I still have clients and stuff, but I had this yearning to be swept away by something. I had no idea what it was. So over the last year and a half, I
Mm-hmm.
tried creating a television show for kids to teach emotional intelligence. And then I made my house my project, and then everything was a project, but I still had this itch in me to be swept away. That's all. It was like a little, threw it
Mm-hmm.
out to the universe, sweep me away. And the songwriting started because I've always sung, I've always played guitar kind of and ukuleles and sang at open mics, never my own stuff. And I was coaching a group of guys, uh, a weekly call for accountability and goal setting. And I just dropped. I just said,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to write a song someday, just sharing my own experience. Well, they turned coach on me very quickly and said, okay, well, bring in a song. And it was the weirdest feeling because I tried writing. I felt embarrassed when I thought about it or tried to do it. I felt embarrassed for myself. It was like, this is too revealing. I can't, it was very strange. And, to write down a line and then sing it, it felt just weird. But I wrote a song, and as soon as I wrote the song, I went, that's it. This is it. One song. This is it. I went, I know exactly how to do this. No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm a perfectly fine singer. I'm a okay guitar player, but as a writer, someone who studied writing all his life, and writing is just like, oh, I know how to do this. I know what an idea is, and I know how to fill up. I mean, that was 30 years in advertising. You take an idea, a headline or tagline, and then you fill it up. And if it's a good tagline or good headline or a good idea, then the ideas keep coming, keep coming. So that was something that I brought from advertising, was the ability to see an idea and fill it out.
Mm-hmm. And what's so magical for me in this story is that in the time that I've spent getting to know you, I think part of the reason why I believe so much in this dream and desire that you have is because I feel like your life and how it's went has led up to this point where, to your point, as an advertiser, you have to sort of convey deep sentiment, emotions in few words. And then, spending time as a stage actor, you cultivate stage presence and, sort of projecting emotions. And, I think another thing that's extremely powerful for me is sort of the sense of exploration that you've had and continue to have, to where you tried the TV show, um, and many other things in your life, and it's like you have to explore in order to discover, and you have to explore wholeheartedly in order to discover. And I think that's such a valuable lesson for anybody listening to this. That through exploration, you'll uncover stuff that ultimately might not be the thing that, sort of you are meant to do for whatever. But in that moment, you sort of devoting your heart and soul to it, it will cultivate, it will shape you in a way that will set you up for something that is possibly even more magical. When you think about, sort of songwriters, that is such a rare thing to be a songwriter, right? And it can be, like you are a star, right? A diamond, as part of this goal that you have, but you have all these things that are helping to set you up for success, along with us, who want to support you and see you succeed, because your success is our success. Um,
Well,
so
thank
thank
you.
you for that. Mm,
Yeah. I was making ratatouille last night. I'd never made ratatouille before, and I thought ratatouille is like life. You take all the stuff of your life, and you put it in one place. And ratatouille was originally like a country stew. Just take all the leftovers and put it in, and that's it's the we as human beings have this idea. We keep hearing like, oh, I have to have a purpose. I have to have a mission. Well, if you search for that mission, it's like how do we you don't even or that purpose in life, it seeking it is actually pushes it away in a way. So I guess what I did over the last year and a half, or what I've done in my life, is I just kept. I didn't. I had a feeling I wanted out there, and so I practiced that feeling in small ways. I dabbled, I tried, I dived, and I dived. And a lot of ways, being in action is the only thing that's real. Everything else is just a fantasy in your head.
mm-hmm.
So, I look back on songwriting now, it's like, oh, yeah, I've taken everything. I've just taken all of my life, the struggles, the pain, and then the little skills. I mean, being a Shakespearean actor, you understand the power of the sound of a word. Shakespeare didn't screw around. He didn't just put the word roar, his roar. I mean, you had to feel the word roar if you were saying the word roar. And then advertising taught me the economy of language. Every word matters. You don't go flipping around words. You just don't go putting in filler words. And that's where, as a songwriter, it's like, God, this is all about, you write something and you go, well, even in two measures, this has to be 60% pure words. So what are the words? And what words do you really need? And what words can you throw away? So it's all ratatouille.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's especially relevant because, and I'll speak for myself, and if this resonates with the audience, oftentimes in life, you spoke to it earlier, you feel lost. You don't know sort of what's going on, why you're doing what you're doing, and how it's supposed to sort of lead up to something that you would consider a great life. And I think, what you're saying is so valuable, that your mind is limited and might not be able to, in that moment, account for what's coming, or how something in the future might move you to where the things you have done and are currently doing in the present will strongly contribute to that. And I think that's part of the reason why, as hard as it can be, I try to tell myself, wherever I am in life, to try to do the best at whatever it is that I'm sort of doing, because ultimately, if I honor that, whatever I'm putting my life force to, that it will serve a purpose, if not entirely today, then later in life. So thank you for that lesson. Okay, so moving on. One of the things that didn't come up in our conversation thus far, that I think is very important to bring light to, is when we met at the open mic, or when you really sort of finished sharing your song. you made it a point. You made it a point to, share your dream of being invited to play at the BlueBird Cafe in Nashville.
Hmm.
Now, a series of questions for you. Why the BlueBird Cafe? And why the hell? What moved you to want to say that? Because so many people wouldn't necessarily say that. And had you not said that,
It's true.
we wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
We really wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to go back, it's part of, setting a goal for yourself. Whatever goal you set for yourself, it has to light you up. Even if it's just like my goal is to clean up my room. If it lights you up, like, yeah, that will feel good. And so my goal was at first it was, I'm going to write a song a week. I was like, I'm going to write, and it doesn't have to be a good song, but but it didn't light me up. It felt like mathematics to me. And so once I decided, well, wait a minute, what if I decided I'm going to be a professional singer songwriter? Boy, that it filled me up with terror and excitement, and all the emotions came to the surface. And it still was a little vague. And 25, 30 years ago, I was in Nashville producing music for some advertising campaign. There's a lot of musicians there, and the producers sent me to the BlueBird Cafe on a Monday night. They said, "Oh, you'll love it. It's a hole in the wall. It's not fancy. I mean, it is in a strip mall." And he said, "This is where the singer-songwriters go." And on Monday and Tuesday nights, they have In the Round, where 3 or 4 songwriters sit in the middle of the room in a little circle and trade in songs. Most magical night of my life. These guys are completely authentic. What they're singing is from the heart. They wrote it. There's their voices, their words, their music, their presence. It was all each one owned their little area, and always stuck with me. So, the BlueBird is the epicenter of singer-songwriters in the United States. It is, it's the place. So when I came up with my goal to be a professional, it's like, that seemed kind of vague. What does that mean? Somebody hands me a check or $1? Didn't know what it meant. But when I realized, oh, what if my goal was to go to sing at the BlueBird Cafe? I went, that's really clear. And it filled me with the memories of 30 years ago. And 2 of the songwriters who I saw there ended up becoming, quite well known in the world of country. And by the way, I've always loved country music or Americana or folk. I'm always much preferred that. That's why, even though I'm not a country boy, it speaks to me because of the stories and the emotions and the heartache and the love. And so storytelling. So BlueBird Cafe.
Wow.
And that has lit me up because now I thought, okay, by my birthday in April next year, I'm singing at the BlueBird Cafe. I got to have songs for that. I got to have songs for that moment. So I'm 20 songs in, 10 of them are recorded. And that's, it, continues to excite me because it's like a crazy goal, but it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Not impossible.
Yeah. And what's so important for me over there that I hope to convey with the audience is dream big. Also dream details, you know, and like, spend the time in your daydreams to flesh out those details, and then communicate those details, because what you're doing are 2 things. You're automatically creating a path for yourself, a clear path, right? That isn't clouded by vagary, right? Which I think vagary can be a storm, where you don't know which way to go, or where to go, and it ultimately challenges your dream. And I think it's such a critical ingredient of making your dreams come true. But then also screaming it from the rooftops, every chance you get. like a child, saying, "This is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I want." Um, and then devoting yourself to it. If it lights you up, well, then, you're prioritizing it, to spend the time to, show up. Even if you're not able to give your 100%
Yeah.
every single time, you fucking show up, man,
Yeah.
right? And you build a body of work. And I think, you're fortunate in that, you've been able to cultivate that skill through your career as an actor, and then ads. And so you sort of having all these years of experience, it's like a strong muscle that you're then able to put to something that's more challenging, as coming up with songwriting, right? And that
Yeah.
speaks to how rare, this is.
Well, I like shouting from the rooftops because when I made that announcement to everybody after I sang that song, that like I've got this goal I want to sing, I'm going to be not. I think I said I'm going to be singing at the BlueBird Cafe, and that's my goal, and this is my Instagram, blah blah blah. But that was only the second time I've ever said that out loud, but it took at least 2 months to get up I have to be ready. I can't. Am I really? And it's only been the last 2 weeks where I realized I'm going to get rid of all apologetic language, all language that colors it in a way with an aw shucks. I'm calling myself a singer songwriter now, not a wannabe singer songwriter. I said, fuck it, I can make up whatever reality I am. I choose. So now saying it out loud is a lot less scary than it was a month ago. A month ago,
Brother,
I couldn't have said those words out loud.
and you know what? You couldn't have said that more beautifully, honestly, because the whole mission of this show is to inspire folks, to step out of their comfort zone. And there's a
Mm,
reason why, right? Like, as much as you struggled, with the fear, the whatever, right? Of, seeing yourself as a songwriter, and then conveying that, proclaiming that to the world. Once you finally decided to embrace that discomfort and do it, well, look what happened, brother.
yeah. Yeah.
Here we are.
And anytime you step into anything fearful, as I tell my clients, is that once you do it, lots of things could happen. Lots of stuff emotionally can happen, but the fear is gone. Always, the fear is just gone. Now it's anger, or but it's something else. But it's always changes. So yeah,
Hell yeah.
saying that out loud was that I have a goal of singing at the BlueBird was surreal. It was kind of surreal to say it out loud because I thought I'm going to be judged. How embarrassing! People are going to say, well, one guy on Instagram said, "Yeah, good luck." I mean, very sarcastically. I went, I'm not going to apologize for it anymore.
Good. And
Yeah.
every time you have a weak moment, know that you will have you on YouTube telling yourself, coaching yourself,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you don't need to feel that way, that's a temporary thing, and to sort of, yeah, give you the courage, or show you the courage that already lies within you. And so, Sam, I'm so grateful for our time together. Before we end, um, you know, our magical time together, I really want to use, the remaining time that we have to reach out to our audience, right? It doesn't matter when you're listening to this episode. Um, I think there's a lot of power in collectively coming together to make dreams come true. Because, wherever you are in life, right? We all have dreams, and we're all working on dreams. And, you might have a dream where you're in a particular stage that's different than where Sam is. Um, but right now, we're at the stage where Sam has a body of work. He's got, I think he mentioned 20 plus songs. And
And may I plug the album I created on SoundCloud too?
yeah,
Go to
and
Sound.
actually,
Yeah.
after we get off, I will definitely add the link to the description. But, part of the objective of today's episode is to really get on the radar of the BlueBird Cafe. And to that end, we've written a little, very short letter in the episode description that if you felt called to, you can just copy and paste, into your email, add something else if you wanted to, but just shoot and send it over to the Bluebird Cafe to let them know, hey, here's this amazing human who's led this awesome, crazy, magical life that we really think is worth you all considering, sort of to invite to your stage. So I make that plea not just on behalf of Sam, but for myself, because I see myself within Sam, and I hope that you would be moved to do so because you see yourself in Sam. And knowing that if you do this, that the universe will pay it forward to you when you are in your position to rely on the collective to make your dreams come true. So, with that, Sam, is there anything that you would like to say to close us out? Um,
No, well, I just want to say how grateful I am for that, and for anybody who decides to throw something out there. And you're right that it's funny. After I made the announcement that night that we met, and the audience just decided as a group to start manifesting right there in the tea shop. Do you remember that? I don't know who started it, but they all started, and I realized that's what happens when you were saying speak something out. Is that you're making it real and you're allowing people to help. And being an independent kind of person, I never really do that very often. So it's both vulnerable and very moving.
yes,
So,
brother.
yeah.
I'm sure it speaks to the emo within you, so I'm expecting a song about this now. Okay.
Something's always humming up there.
All right, brother. On that note, thank you so much. And most of all, thank you to our audience in the here, now, in the near future, or the very, very distant future. And until the next episode, I wish you all love and infinite light. And with that, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Get Out of Your Comfort Zone series. I hope it moved you and inspired you if you are feeling stuck with something in your life. If you would like to further connect with our guest, please see their contact in the description. Please consider taking a moment to rate this podcast. Please also consider showing us some love on your Instagram story. You can find our info in the episode description. Until the next episode, I wish you infinite love and light. Thank you so much for tuning in.